to get there. But with this Quest Rogue from lambyseries, Glory clearly feels comfortable against it, which is, I think, a reasonable conclusion to come to. Demon Hunter, I think, will be in a great spot, but Warlock, I've got to say, the few times I've run into Quest Rogue on ladder, I haven't actually felt like it's as good of a matchup as I would have anticipated.
Yeah, Warlock is one of the few decks that one of the few control decks that actually doesn't have a good answer for stealth scabs. It's not within range of Soul Rend, and Quest Rogue, the entire deck is built around being able to get your quest reward as soon as possible. So if we see that matchup a bit later, I would not be happy to be in Glory's shoes. But for now, it's the Face Hunter versus the Quest Rogue, and Lamby does start off with a premium set of SI cards to deal with aggressive minions. The SI7 Operative is insane just because of how much dictation it gives you over the trades. Once it rushes into something, it will regain stealth every single time. So it's just like a repetitive trading tool you can use for insane value.
Do like Quest on one here. We could have considered messing around with Coin Skulker, Coin Dagger, but realistically, as you laid out at the start, Quest completion is so powerful in this deck. It's not even just the ultimate reward. The spy gizmos that you get along the way can be such tempo swings with potentially, I don't know, sap for a Rhino if it just comes down at the board, sap for a Bone Chewer Brawler, the weapon, the mole, all such high tempo options. And so getting things off to this start for lambyseries, as you said, looks super strong.
Glory deciding between his two 2-drops here. Actually, both of them are able to disrupt what the SI7 Operative wants to do here, because the 2 attack on the rush doesn't trade very nice at all into the Bone Chewer Brawler, and the Cult Neophyte would have shut down the coin from that being able to come down. Between the two, I actually do like what Glory has decided on here, because he does get to have a minion that also trades nicely into SI7 Skulker, which is the play that lambyseries will default to because the Operative is so ineffective here.
Yeah, there was some consideration for still going Operative because it brings it down to 1 health and it still gains stealth, right? It doesn't actually need to kill the minion to gain stealth, it just needs to attack. But still with this line, even when there's the Orc Merchant in play, which is about the worst thing that he could see, this still ends up being pretty good for Lamby. But that's even better.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think the Operative was very good here. It would have died to the Bone Chewer Brawler.
It does something though, yeah. He could not take the damage.
This is much, much better for Lamby because he's able to actually retain minions while clearing that Bone Chewer Brawler. And a weapon here would be amazing. Oh, you'll take a 1-cost minion too. Basically, anything that's not a spell was a good gizmo here.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Rhino is the one that's not playable right now, of course, but it does give them a much stronger play as the turns develop, and especially with Warsong Wrangler into potentially double Rhino, or even just Volpertinger for an extra 4 damage right now. This is looking really scary for Lamby, who is just taking so much damage.
Yeah, I think this is spot on from Glory. The Rhino into Rhino, of course, pushes a ton of damage, but he quickly realizes the Wolpertingers do it, but right now. And there are not even enough minions on Lamby's side of the board to actually trade away everything. Glory just deciding if he needs to even take a trade up here or if he can just push everything to the dome. And honestly, against Quest Rogue, I'd like to push it all to the dome. They don't have very much healing. They don't have very much burst until Battle Master can come down. And he has Aim Shot Rhino in hand. But Glory did decide on getting rid of the Neophyte, one of the 3/2s here.
And so we of course have Operative, Coin Wicked Stab, but maybe Shadow Step actually, just to reapply the stealth. Replay it, get it in play, rush in, get the stealth again, get yourself another gizmo that you can theoretically coin out. If you get sap, you can use that on just, I guess most likely the 3/4.
Yes, ends up with the hidden Gyro Blade though, which because of the 3 health on the Warsong Wrangler doesn't really achieve that much of extra clearing, but I suppose it allows him to send this 6 damage face. But if he has to take this 3 damage and the other 3 from the Wrangler, he basically needs to win the game the next turn to justify that.
He also knows that there's a Rhino in hand, and so trading everything in with the Gyro Blade to kill off the 3/4 does mean there's no targets for the Rhino, which is worth a fair amount as well.
Yeah. He instead takes a halfway point of trading a minion with less health. But for Glory, this is all too simple, right? Whether you go Rhino this turn or Volpertinger Piercing Shot, the setup is always there for next turn. Instead, he goes with the aim shot. Sure, that works out fine too, because next turn he just goes Volpertinger Piercing Shot for 5 damage.
Such a tough one for Lamby. He had such a good hand. Everything was going his way, but it was just exactly Bone Chewer Brawler, as you said, sorry, that shut everything down, especially with the Divine Shield as well, to make everything so difficult to clear. If he had, like, I don't know, like 10 more health he could have got there, but that's obviously quite a lot to ask for. But, like, he's winning this game now. He's going to lock down the board. He'd get to Scabs fairly soon, but it's just not enough.
If you could change Valira's hero power to Patchwork from Battlegrounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not meant to be. Glory wins this one with a simple piercing shot on the SI7 agent for 3 damage. And we are moving on to game 2 already. Glory's decision that banning away Rogue doesn't really matter if that Rogue is not a Garrote Rogue seems to be working out.
That's right, yeah, very swift win for the Hunter, and a pretty nice win as well, actually. Against Paladin, I think things can get a little bit messy. It can get there, of course, if they have those awkward kinds of hands. But the healing, the taunts are very, very rough to get through for the Hunter. And the Warlock, again, as we've seen, can go either way. So a big win for Glory to get the Hunter out of the way, moving on to just his Demon Hunter and his Warlock left over, both of which I think are going to be relatively strong overall. It's really just the Paladin now on the other side for lambyseries that I think is actually, and weirdly enough, in a good spot. Despite it being 0-6 so far this weekend, I do think the Paladin should be well suited now.
Yeah, I can see that. Versus the Warlock from Glory could get quite a bit of work done. Versus the Demon Hunter as well. Yeah, basically for every deck left, the Paladin does seem to have matchups that could finally allow it to take a win on stream. And I suppose we can talk about why we think those matchups are favorable for the Paladin. I think out of these control decks, even though the Warlock does have things like Unstable Shadow Blast, they don't have infinite ways to deal with tall singular minions, which the Paladin does specialize in. But the deck for Lamby is still going to be the Quest Rogue on the same exact hand he had as last time, except play.
I mean, it didn't work so well last turn, but I think this one should be quick enough now against the Warlock. And obviously, I agree, it's still Quest on 1. The curve just leans so perfectly into that. And really, the only thing that's been holding back lambyseries, aside from being run over in that first game, and the thing that holds back Quest Rogue a lot, is lack of card draw. All he really needs now to bolster this is Secret Passage, Swindle, just any way to keep this SI train rolling until Scabs comes online.
Yeah, even the Greyheart Sage would be amazing here with the Spy Mistress in hand and the Skulker on board. I think he doesn't have to leave the Skulker stealth because he has Spy Mistress in case he picks up the Greyheart Sage, but this has eternally been the problem with Quest Rogue. Even at the very beginning of the expansion, people were saying, yeah, it can get the quest done really quickly, but it does so... it kind of puts itself into one box, all the eggs in one basket of getting the Scabs online. If you either miss on getting early Scabs because you didn't draw enough SI cards, or your Scabs gets answered pretty cleanly, that's pretty much the win condition of your deck gone. Lamby's version does have a bit more value than other versions with the Mankrik and the Kazakas in there, but I struggle to see whether that would be enough to beat out Handlock if he can't get down the Scabs in a timely fashion.
Well, lambyseries with a very SI-heavy hand. The question, of course, are we comfortable going so all-in against Solren? To which Lamby says, he's drawn a lot of cards leading up into turn 4. I think I want to hold something back, which I can understand. Next turn, he still has access to Spy Mistress, SI7, and hopefully a proactive Gizmo as well.
That's right. Playing into Solren doesn't just punish you for losing resources, but it punishes you for getting the Warlock further along into their 10-card breakpoint. So I think it's fine for Lamby to play around it for a bit. Now he has access to SI7 Agent with the Spy Mistress, but I was thinking maybe even play the Operative just to be a bit more mana efficient. He can still be mana efficient if he gets a good Gizmo here, maybe Spy-O-Matic, but ends up with Noggin Fog Generator. That's the stealth +2 attack, and he's gonna rip it right away on the Agent. He's full aggro here.
Okay, I think that's reasonable. I do agree that I preferred the Operative there, though, just because of mana efficiency, but also Greyheart Sage. If there's nothing to attack into with the Operative, that makes that almost a completely dead draw.
Okay, one SI card away from Scabs, but is that too much? It could mean all the difference here. His Flash Distractor is not particularly good versus another on because, yes, they can't play it the next turn, but in 2 turns it'll cost 1 again.
Yeah, you're much more heavily...
That's fine.
Yeah, saving it for, wow, Scavenger or Giant, but he doesn't even want to tank the damage at all here, pretty surprisingly.
Wow. Being at 30, I would be inclined to feel safe, but fair enough. I guess at some point that 8 damage could become a breakpoint for Battlegrounds Battlemaster.
Man, I didn't even realize that Glory was down to so few cards left in deck already. The 2 6/6s coming online are so clutch, and here is just what can happen when you play a low curve deck that has limited card draw. If you miss out on that, you are left with hands like these. And while he can clear almost the entire board, just leaving the Neophyte in play and bouncing back one of the Scavengers, it's going pretty much all in on saying you have to top deck Secret Passage next turn.
Definitely feels like it. I wonder if he ever clears Neophyte and leaves a 6/6 instead to preserve the stealth on board.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
That's what he's deciding currently. The mana is still available to go for the Wicked Stab. The benefit of leaving your stealth, of course, is Greyheart Sage as a top deck. He is leaving both minions, in fact, because he is not dead to BGBM, even if Glory had it here. But even with a Passage top deck, I don't think Lamby has any outs for a surprise lethal prior to Scabs. But Glory's actually just going to put another Scavenger in the Raise Dead pool, healing with the Bristleback in the meantime. It is just going to be an onslaught of 6/6s and 8/6s, Derek.
Oh, it's so big. The Netherons, the Flesh Giants, way too much for Lamby to answer here. He needs to hit lethal on this turn, and that's obviously impossible. Even with Glory having burned the Battlegrounds Battlemaster, I think the amount of pressure he can put on board is going to very handsomely represent lethal.
Oh, so many stats. When you kind of just look at what Rogue does when it bricks compared to like a bad draw from Handlock, you kind of start to realize why Quest Rogue has not been considered a top tier deck for a very, very long time. Again, it's kind of impossible for Handlock to brick completely because they are just drawing through your deck so often. But yeah, this final SI card is far too late. He can die with Scabs in hand.
An honorable death indeed. And that's gonna be it. No mana left over for Lamby. A really poor outing for Quest Rogue in these first couple of games, just not looking powerful at all. And honestly, with what was not a bad draw there, right? He curved out, he hit plenty of SI cards, he dealt a bunch of damage. Obviously, he missed out on the card draw, but there's 6 draw cards in the deck effectively, which is a little unlikely to not see one of them at that point in the game, but it's not unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this felt like a pretty average Quest Rogue draw, and that's not to say that, like, this deck only operates when it gets above average, but I feel like it needs to get above average to be on par with a lot of the other decks in the meta. You can definitely see the upsides if you do get this deck to work quickly, because when you get a big Stealth Scabs online turn 6, turn 7, there's not that many decks right now that can deal with that super cleanly, and then it feels super one-sided. But when it fails, it kind of feels like even the old ramp druids that never hit the ramp, just doing nothing of significance in the early turns. But Lamby will have one last shot on the Rogue if he wants to queue it again versus Glory's OTK Demon Hunter here. Out of the remaining decks for Lamby, I do think the Quest Rogue is the worst one into this matchup, though.
I would agree with you there. I think that the Demon Hunter, obviously, while it has answers to Scabs. That's not even really the main thing that makes it favored for the Demon Hunter. It's just the fact that they're doing everything quicker. The Scabs, by the time it comes online, even if you can represent like a lot of damage the turn after, there's a very reasonable chance that you're already being hit with Kurtrus online, lethal a couple of turns afterwards. It's very difficult to keep up with the quest progression of the OTK Demon Hunter, which I guess is why lambyseries is switching over to the Paladin, trying to give himself at least a somewhat favorable matchup heading into this series, trying to get his foot in the door at least, as he's got himself this interesting hybrid build, the Libram Secret Paladin with the Devout Pupil as well. It's got a lot of the cards that Demon Hunter really doesn't like to go up against.
Yeah, a lot of these heavy hitters like the Outdoor Truth Seeker, which is necessary in any Libram Paladin, and the Varian at the top end, but also the Devout Pupil that you brought up can be such a pain for Demon Hunter to deal with because of that Divine Shield. The Secret Package is also pretty annoying for Demon Hunter, I want to say, because they don't have that many spells that they can toss all willy-nilly just to test for Oh My Yogg, and they are certainly a class that loves to play more than 3 cards in a turn, so Galloping Savior very likely to go off as well. Lamby with that okay sign, I feel like he got a very good mulligan, but that means that the glide is going to be pretty backbreaking.
Yeah, this is a close one because I fully agree with the glide keep there from Glory. As I've said before, I think it can be very potent against Paladin. But for lambyseries, he has a hand that spends cards early on, which is of course good against glide. He's dumping cards very rapidly here, and also just playing a spell for 4 mana on turn 4, that very easily goes wrong with a timely Yogg.
That is true. Lamby's just got the perfect curve, and the fact that he has coined out the Libram of Wisdom tells you that 100% he's committed to going Sword of the Fallen next turn, and then Bannerman not willing to float any mana, and delaying the Bannerman by a bit also potentially allows him to buff more minions. I think it just makes a lot of sense. He can preserve a swing if he wants to going into Glory's turn 4.
Preemptive I-Beam just to damage it to finish off with the hero power next turn. I like a lot. Probably still Sword of the Fallen, I think, on this turn for lambyseries, right?
Yeah, if you're thinking about disrupting glide, you do have to get 2 swings in to guarantee that you get Oh My Yogg by the time glide is playable. So I think this is fine. Although if you swing first and get Oh My Yogg first, and your opponent plays a spell, then you have to win a 1 in 3 for the next swing to also be Oh My Yogg.
You do, and if you get the horse first and they don't, like they play a spell, realize it's not Oh My Yogg, they know 100% next turn when you swing that it is going to be Oh My Yogg, so they can play around it much more effectively.
It's a bit interesting how these mind games work out, but Glory did decide to test with double jump there. Doesn't progress the quest, but now he's got a double glide hand, and Lamby has the potential, the guarantee that he's gonna get the Oh My Yogg here.
Really? It's not too heavy.
Which I think you absolutely should swing to protect from glide, because now your hand is all buffed up.
Yeah, exactly. A card has been kept since the start of the game as well. Glory, of course, knows 100% now what both of these secrets are, so he could theoretically test with non-outcast glide, right? And then go for the second one next turn. You're obviously just letting a 4-mana spell rip and seeing what happens, but hey, let's go for it. Hope for a good one. Oh!
That's pretty good.
That's huge! lambyseries with his own brand of the salty clap, and Glory as well. Oh man, I love APAC.
Yeah. I can tell you one of those wasn't salty, but
yes.
At least for Lamby, it didn't kill his minion, so he has a buff target for Libram of Wisdom to take a value trade on one of the Void Walkers.
Sure.
Trading the Royal Librarian. I don't know if It was kind of just a Yeti in hand with that buff, but I suppose if you trade it, whenever you draw it again, it will still retain that buff because of the way tradable cards work. So I don't hate spending that 1 mana to get it out of hand immediately. He does have other better ways to spend 4 mana, but for now, Glory is going to glide most of this away. At least Lamby actually gains more cards for compensation because he did lose the buffs.
Quite right, yeah. And I think the subtle nod from Lamby is telling us everything we need to know. He, of course, had a very strong read on that being glide based on the cards kept in Mulligan, the way that Glory was playing as well. And now you chill on the remaining card, absolutely, for Lamby, so that you don't proc the Galloping Savior. Chew through as much of this damage as you can, and then just pray that you hit card draw next turn. It's a very simple game plan.
Definitely is, but for Lamby, he ends up with a pretty good post-glide hand. He's just got the Truth Seeker into Libram of Hope, which will now cost 5 after that discount is applied, and then he could follow up with Devout Pupil and then Varian. The curve is pretty much ideal right now for Lamby.
It's the dream, isn't it?
Oh, wow.
Liadrin as well. This is the entire top end of the deck. Unbelievable.
At the perfect time for it as well. So now Glory effectively has so little time. I mean, even just this turn, this board is already threatening 9 damage. He's only at 16 with 0 healing in hand. Okay, that's some healing.
Yeah, you can...
But it looks like he does have to proc the Galloping this turn.
Yeah, I think I like starting with Illidari Studies.
Oh!
We're trying to find a better clear with maybe Fellscream Blast here, and Glide maybe just gives it to him. Maybe it wasn't just Alutemu. He's given his practice partners the secret.
Glory Kaku! Here we go again. Oh, man. Insta, right? I guess you could play Moarg I-Beam and then Glide, but if you just Glide now, you don't actually proc the horse. Pretty interesting. Well, at least for Lamby, he did manage to get the Truth Seeker down beforehand, so those discounts are still applied to the Librams.
The aura as well, though, that he mulliganed for is so sick as well with the Moarg that he played preemptively. A full board clear on this turn and setting up for quest completion next turn as well. This was so sick.
It's sick, but look at Lamby's hand again. He just ended up with again. It's all the top end. I think Lamby still wins this. It's like
that's unbelievable. That is actually unbelievable.
What?
Oh, Sword of the Fallen.
Change the coding on Glide to shuffle of your deck. And
this is even better. You can get down another secret and the Devout Pupil, which is just like low-key better than the Eldor Truth Seeker anyway because of the Divine Shield.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so sick.
The only thing he lost was the Libram of Hope, and because that's not in the hand, there's no rush to play the second Eldor Truth Seeker. I like it.
The plot armor for Lamby is just too strong. He can't get rid of these good cards. He is the main character.
Okay, but he's not threatening lethal quite yet, even with Liadrin on curve. So Glory has the opportunity to get Kurtrus in hand. Not guaranteed by any means. Gonna test for Omayog with Sigil. That could have still been Galloping from his perspective, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Paralytic does nothing. So now he goes Studies. Skull is playable!
Ooh. Okay.
So this means like he's not necessarily... Oh, wait, he has 1 mana left. Yeah, he can still complete quest. That's perfect.
Ooh, you have trade... That I-Beam costs 0, but doesn't get all too much value right now. So you're probably holding on to that to try and go for a big swing, or maybe by some miracle lethal next turn. Although, nah, that never really gets there.
So he's just trying to hope for, I guess, a Moarg off the top so he can create some time with this I-Beam. But Lamby is going to put the pedal to the metal here, getting all these Librams of Wisdom back.
Oh, it's so
down
close.
To 2. Down to 3.
1 turn. Yeah, 1.
Oh, it is 2. God.
Yes, right the first time. Good job. And one final chance here for Glory with the 0 mana acrobatics after the Kurtrus. You can draw yourself maybe 2 more cards afterwards as well. He can pull off some really, really powerful plays here.
Yeah, he knows this last secret is Galloping Savior, so no need to test with the least useful spell. There's Moarg, there's Philosophy. This I-Beam can heal for 1 trillion here.
It kind of feels like this might just get there, right? Like, he can heal here, he can keep the combo active for the turn after, copying 0 mana Moargs as well. He just needs to find the Fellscream Blast, and he's there.
Healing with a lot with I-Beam would sometimes entail using both Moargs though, but not even. He can just throw a Guild Trader here very happily. That I-Beam would heal him for 10. I guess it's not enough, right? He does have to commit another Moarg. That's not going on the Divine Shield. Unless he's gonna Fellscream Blast everything instead. I guess that's reasonable.
Yeah, which I think is what he's leading up to. Is he going for double Fellscream Blast? Or just I-Beam at the end?
Yeah. This is just super clean. It's a full
Oh, yeah. Oh! So sick. Moarg in hand, still lethal, just represented, right, with the Fellscream Blast and double spell damage. Clears the board, sets up the combo. Nothing Lamby can do. He got the nuttiest hand. 3 hands in a row. 2 glides for Glory. Still not enough as he gives himself a clap there. He's done it. This is a 3-0 sweep.
I have to reevaluate Paladin. Does it really truly suck? I thought this was the matchup that justified bringing Paladin, and Lamby drew well. He drew the best he could, even post glides. But man, Glory just putting together a clinic on how to play this OTK Demon Hunter, knowing exactly what secrets to play around, being willing to throw away 1 glide. Obviously, generating 2 1/3s is pretty good, but there's a lot of other 4-cost spells that could have been impactful there as well. Even just something that gets rid of the 2/2, I think, would have put Glory in a similar spot. Lamby here just going to take his Divine Shield Rush. You have to imagine to kill spell damage? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Well, I know it's not going to be enough, but for lambyseries, I think you can guess that it's probably not going to be enough. He buffs up everything he can. Glory with the perfectly preserved combo. Mana's there, spell damage is there, everything's there. I'm not missing anything. Glory for the 2nd season in a row is going to be going through to the playoffs and with another shot of getting through to the World Championships, Gia, for 2 seasons, or for 2 years in a row, sorry.
Wait, is it guaranteed? I thought he needed 2 match wins, including this one.
Oh, right. Apologies, once more. But he's in with a shot. There we go.
And that does mean that Lamby, the hero of yesterday, the main character of the race to escape relegation, will not be seeing him again for the rest of the season. But I think he can hold his head high. It was an amazing miracle to escape at the end there, and he will be back with us next year. But right now it's all about Glory, with the hope to become a back-to-back world champion, well and truly alive.
Yeah, he's still in with a shot of it, as you corrected me, very correctly so. It does need to be 1 more win, but it was just an interesting series, right? It was pretty much the establishment, right? The established metagame of Hunter, Warlock, Demon Hunter, Garrote Rogue that was banned away, versus the weird stuff. Quest Rogue, Paladin for lambyseries. The Warlock was the only somewhat standard deck he had left over, and it just honestly didn't even feel close. Glory in the driving seat all the way through. I guess that Paladin at the end was a little bit scary, but even then, that was only because lambyseries got like the best possible hand that you can get, and it still was enough for Glory to be able to survive. And so there it is, another 2 Japanese players through to the semi-finals. Glory in with a chance of getting through to the playoffs. He just needs to win 1 more series to climb over Okashinsuke and get into that 12-point slot. 1 more left to play to today, Gia, with Bank Yugi versus Alutemu, and it could be the old school trio of Japanese players possessed